Now, quickly, I just want to make you aware of a couple of things. This is Bitcoin intraday. We're getting another 9 count right here. Now, again, it may not be bottom. It may be we still get a divergence with these lows over here. But again, this low right here had a 13.9 sequence count bottoming signal. We had a 13.9 at this December peak. We had a 9 count and we went a little bit higher. So that's what I'm saying. We still may go a little bit lower, try to take out this low, or you may get a higher low. And I think, again, you still have a good shot that we bottomed here. This was a 9 count at this bottom. This was a 9 count at this bottom, a 13.9. At a 13 over here, a 9 over here, a 9 here, a pullback, and then we went higher, and we got the 9, went a little bit higher. Here we got a bounce, but then it failed. It was just a bounce. Now we're getting another one. So again, time to pay attention. Bitcoin intraday in the daily time frame, we got a very interesting sequence count. Bitcoin's daily chart, we're getting a 13 count right here, a 13 count down buy signal that's setting up. It may not be done yet. Again, these counts are not perfect. They show price exhaustion up and down, but again, could be in a bottoming process. Sometimes you get the count and you go a little bit lower or go a little bit higher when you're going higher. Here, the last 13 count that we got on the daily chart played out very nicely. It gave us the very day of the December top. Look at that. Right after we had the January 20th peak, we rallied back up, and the very next day we got the 9 count. Look at that. So again, could Liberation Day be could it be Donald Trump's Liberation Day when we get the tariffs? Could it be a sow the rumor, buy the news event? Could we see a bottom on Bitcoin? I think it's very possible. So if we lose the area that we're at, if we don't bottom, then it's going to be extremely bearish. But we do have a 13 countdown buy signal that is now developed here with the Sunday session. It did complete with the Sunday session. Just go back and look at 2024. Again, some of these counts, very interesting. They give us short-term tops and bottoms many times. Sometimes you go a little higher, a little bit lower, but oftentimes they are associated with a bottoming process. Here you got a 9 count, you went a little bit lower. Here you got a 9 count, you went a little bit higher. Times like our 13 count at the December high, it marked the day of the turn. Or in January, the day after. Here, same thing. You got turns marking the very day of the turn. Again, a 13 count worth watching. Again, we may go down below it a little bit. We may even take this low out. So do keep that in mind if a triple bullish divergence forms. But then that would likely mark a bottom surrounding the 74,000 area. Even if we dip below it, that's fine. You just got to get back above the 74,000 area, Bitcoin's average price, as I've talked about. So an interesting sequence count here developing with a 13 countdown buy signal developing here. Do we get a higher low? I think you got a good shot at it, or a triple divergence. If not, bottoming process. We're being told the bottom is about to fall out of Bitcoin, and I think you've got a bottoming process on your hands. We have the 9 count forming right now on the intraday chart. Again, we may go a little bit lower, but you got a good chance that we're going to try to set up a higher low. And if we don't get a higher low, I think you got a really good shot that it will be a triple bullish divergence that marks the Bitcoin bottom. So I'll be watching the 13 count from Sunday here very closely. Got a candle of indecision. We'll be watching this low. Please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the chart, you like the indicators, please let me know that by supporting the channel. If you could take a moment to do that, I would really appreciate it. I don't have sponsors because I don't want to send you to a bunch of exchanges that want to get you leveraged up and wipe you out or try to sell you stuff. There's a lot of shady deals on the internet. So I just ask that you do what you can to help out, but I need to hear from you in order to make that work. So if you could take a moment to do that, I would really appreciate it. I thank you for your consideration for that. Again, I am aware I'm having some difficulty with the audio. You might hear some popping noises. I've taken steps to try to get that resolved, but it's trial and error trying to fix things. Appreciate your patience, but it will be resolved soon. So I thank you for your patience for that. Look, we had signals, and here I programmed this indicator to follow the trend, but programmed the bars to be a little bit more sensitive, so sometimes they turn a little bit early to give you a little bit of a warning sign. Signals try to turn back to bullish over here after being bearish from the top here this entire time, and they try to turn back to bullish, and it failed. the push above the 200 period moving average. So now we're going back here for a test to test the support zone, to test possibly this low and maybe take it out. We'll be talking about that. You're in a bottoming process. And again, the narrative is that we're about to see the bottom fall out of the stock market and Bitcoin surrounding Trump's Liberation Day with his tariffs, calling it Liberation Day. And it could be that it's again, sell the rumor and buy the news. Kids don't like uncertainty. We could get certainty. Maybe ends up pausing them. If we see concessions immediately with Europe. Europe's already prepared a concessions list. We know that from last Friday. Negotiations start and there's a pause, or market shrugs it off. In 2018, we got tariffs. Market had a sell-off and then shrugged it off, and we moved on and we went and made new highs later in the year. You're going to see the same thing this time with Bitcoin and with the stock market. Now my signals are back on sell. Now quickly, I just want to point out again, my signals have been consistently bearish. Some of them tried to flip back to bullish over here. We got some green going on here. Tried to get above our 200 period moving average, and that's now failed. We're back testing the trend line, overthrowing a little bit. Some of the signals have flipped back to bearish. Others are still hanging in there. Again, we're going to be watching. Do we get a higher low at the support zone? Turning off of the trend line here, going back up to that high if we exclude the shadow there. So again, will we now get a higher low or a lower low and form a bullish divergence, or does a bottom fall out of Bitcoin? My guess is you're going to form a bottom. We had green, now we have red. This is telling us, again, we're either going sideways or now we're going back down. One or the other. You're getting red, green, red. So again, trying to find some support here, breaking out and then coming back. We'll see if this level ends up breaking, but background's flipping back to red. So again, we'll be watching. Right now, Bitcoin's down 0.92%. Again, some signals trying to hang in there, others turning right back to bearish. Here, we never could flip back to a bullish signal. This is looking at the bigger picture. So again, can we flip it, getting a higher low or a lower low with the diversions? Some of my signals try to turn back to bullish, but then are turning back to bearish now. So again, got to see them all begin to flip back to bullish if we're to establish a higher low or to get a lower low for a divergence. Now here, again, this indicator, I programmed it to be more sensitive when price tends to turn, and so it calls some good turning points at tops, really good turning points. Got some green going on here, and when it turns green, you're either going sideways or up, and when it's red, you're either going sideways or down. Here we got some green, and we went back to red, and then we went back to green, and now we're getting red again. So this is telling us we're either going sideways or we're going down now because we have red. Tried to flip things bullish here, and it failed, at least so far, rounding our 200 period moving average. So all I'm telling you is we need to see things all flip back to green. Line needs to turn back to blue. It went blue briefly and then went back to red. We got to see the line blue. We got to see the bars turn back to green if we're going to go higher, or if we go lower, make a lower low and complete a diversion. So it's got to turn there. Again, we got bottoming signals. We got one here at this bottom. Didn't get one right here, but again, tried to flip things to bullish, turning back to bearish. We're going to be watching. But what I can tell you is something big is getting ready to happen. And look at the Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands are tightening up now. Look at that. When they tightened up over here, we got this drop. Okay? We got a continuation of the trend to the downside. When we had the tightening of the Bollinger Bands here, we flipped the signals to red. And we got this first initial drop, and then we kind of went sideways. When we got the tightening of the Bollinger Bands over here, we went down initially, but then we went up. And if I go back a little bit further, you can see the tightening of the Bollinger Bands here before we got the final push higher. Bollinger Band tightened up before the final push higher right here. Could this Bollinger Band be marking a turn? Even if we violate the lower boundary of the Bollinger Band like we did over here and over here, could it mark a bottom either with a higher low or a lower low? And then we see price move in the opposite direction. Dropped here, went in the opposite direction. We dropped over here. We were dropping down a little hard to see. Let me move this for you. But we had this drop right here and then a drop right here. But then we ended up moving to a new high. And then the topping signals came over here and over here. Again, could we see the same thing? The Bollinger Bands are telling you something big is getting ready to happen. They're tightening up. Sometimes when you move down in one direction, you begin to move in the other direction, either here, tagging it, or maybe undercutting this level and then turning back up, or maybe taking out this low and then turning back up. Certainly possible. This is telling us something big is getting ready to happen. Here it is up close on the daily chart. You can see, again, we have the trend line from the 2023 low right here. Again, we've come up to this level. I think you're going to try to bounce here. If you don't, you've got the horizontal support from March, okay? And then you've got that lower boundary of the channel. If we end up breaking the trend line, hitting Bitcoin's average price, this line right here is Bitcoin's average price. That's where we bounced right here. Again, we came to just above it right here. Maybe we come to just underneath it and we bounce and we rebound and get the breakout here. But again, I think you're going to get a massive relief rally. The question now is, how do we complete the bottoming process? Do we complete it with a higher low, or do we get one more reference point of a divergence? And if we do, this is the area you want to be watching. Horizontal support, Bitcoin's average price, 74,000. That's why I say, if you drop below 74,000 and go down to this trend line, that's fine, but you got to get back above the trend line. You got to get back above Bitcoin's average price. You can't stay below Bitcoin's average price and continue to have an uptrend, because when you're below it, bad things are happening. I talked about it at great length of detail in my last update. I'll link it at the end of this video. Go watch it. I explain it. At the end of the video, I go through it and spend time explaining it. Watching, do we have a divergence and confirm a higher low on the RSI, or do we get another reference point of a divergence? And same with the MACD. Is it rolling over? Does it confirm a higher low, or do we get a divergence and we come down here? We'll be watching, but watch this lower boundary channel of the bull flag again, and this trend line and all these levels of support I've been talking about. We had that bullish cross on the 4-hour chart here. The 50 got back above the 200 period, but we've dropped back below it. If we establish a higher low, then you possibly have, take out this low, you possibly have your first wave under construction with a series of threes, which would be a leading diagonal, a little rising wedge, possibly a leading diagonal, if we get a higher low that sets up. So this could be 1, this could be 2, if this low can hold. That would invalidate it taking out that low. I mean, the decline is not done yet. But it is possible that you have this first wave done, and we're now going to get the second wave for a higher low, and then it's going to be off to the races if we establish a higher low here above this low right here. Okay? Think about the Elliott wave count. If we've started the fifth wave, are we starting these smaller subwaves in that 5-leg push higher? Quickly, we've turned down off of this trend line right here, again from the 2021 low, separating the two 2021 peaks, again excluding the shadow right here. That's where we turned off of. That's how I called the December and the January peak, is because we slammed into that trend line right there. And also with our linear scaling, we hit the 2017 trend line. I talked about that at great length of detail. If we bounce off the 50, as we did here, as we did over here, if we can bounce right here and off the trend line, then we can go back up to this upper channel line right here. And that is a parallel with this lower boundary right here. We can go up to that level and reach this level and complete the blow off top. And again, this could take us to 135, 145,000, 135,000 higher. If we take our time reaching it, maybe 150,000, above 150,000, certainly possible. We can form this massive divergence on the RSI. And I'll be talking about, you'll see in the video, talking about a massive divergence on the awesome oscillator in the weekly time frame. These highs could be pointing to the next top, to the next high, and I've excluded the shadow here. These highs could be pointing to the next top, right there, intersecting with this trend line right here. This could happen quickly. It can happen in over the course of several weeks into April and May. Could drag out into a few months into the summer. Date is not my target. A number is not my target. I could just tell you, okay, it looks like it might come in this area, but I don't know the future. I don't know when we're going to reach it. I'm a trader. I look at support and resistance. We're at support. If it breaks, that's bearish. If we bounce, that's bullish. If we bounce and we clear this level right here, are we building momentum to clear this trend line? Then guess what? Then we're likely going up to this upper channel line right here, and Bitcoin makes beautiful channels. But then it's going to top because we're going to price in recession. We're talking about recession. I've been warning you for a long time. Recession's coming. Before the tariffs, long before Trump ever won the election, the recession indicators were flashing. We're going to have a recession. I believe the recession indicators. Bitcoin will price that in, and a wrecking ball will be taken to Bitcoin. I'm bullish now, but I'm going to turn bearish. I'm going to flip the trade. If we rally, as I think we will, I'm going to flip the trade up here when we hit this trend line. I'm going to turn extremely bearish. Right now, I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin. You see, I really don't care which way Bitcoin goes. Play the bullish side, I play the bearish side. I'm a trader. Bitcoin also turned off with this trend line from the 2017 high with our linear scaling. We turned off with this trend line again. You've got to be able to get back above 109,000, back above 109,000 to test that trend line again. And again, we may even overthrow this trend line a little bit, or get above it briefly and then end up filling if we go to the upper channel on the log scaling. This is our linear scaling for Bitcoin. But we turned down off of those two trend lines, as I've talked about at great length and detail. Right now, as we start the Monday session here, a couple hours into the Monday session after we closed on this Sunday session, closed out the week, Bitcoin's dropping a little bit below the trend line. Again, could just be an overthrow, or we could break it entirely. And again, as I've mentioned, we're turning down off this trend line. If you connect this level and exclude the shadow right there, we're connected with this point up here. We've turned off of that. So again, a divergence is still possible. I want to continue to point this out, that the RSI is back testing this trend line from our top over here, the divergence here, and then the divergence, a larger divergence that developed with that previous peak. You had a multiple point divergence give us a sell-off. We've come right up to horizontal resistance right here at the January low, and we stalled right there just under the 50 period moving average, and we've back tested this trend line. Could we bounce off of it and try to bottom out and get a back test here? Possible. It could be we still get a divergence. Another point, we had this small bullish divergence right here and give us this larger bullish divergence here that gave us this bottom. We talked about that at the time. There's two bottoms at great length of detail, but I told you if we end up getting another reference point, multiple point divergence here, you could see it happen again and bottom out and see the same thing on the awesome oscillator, which I'm showing you in this video. Watch it all the way through. If we can back test or get a higher low, or even if we get a divergence, again, I think you're going to come back up to this area and try to take out this horizontal resistance. And then we have our resistance zone, which is the peak here and the peak over here. And again, that could take us towards our 100 period moving average. Got to get back above that to turn it around. You got to get back above the cloud right here, trending cloud. You got to get back above the 100 period to turn it down. When we broke the 100 period over here, we broke it. We back tested the 100 period, the pink line, and then we had this drop. So again, Bitcoin follows the 100 period moving average. Are we getting a back test on the RSI, or do we end up forming another reference point of a divergence? I think you got a good shot. Bitcoin's bottoming here, okay? But that possibility of a divergence. The scenario that we're going to get this collapse in Bitcoin right now is coming from the people that told us that the sell-off was never going to happen to begin with. So again, these are the people that are oblivious to what's going on. Bitcoin's at major support. If it breaks it, that's going to be extremely bearish. If it bounces, that's going to be very bullish. Stochastic's becoming oversold. MACD, it's turning down below the center line. We could confirm a higher low on Bitcoin. We can confirm a higher low here, okay? Come down and get a higher low, or a divergence. And you can get this drop. Maybe we get this drop, Trump's Liberation Day. We get this big drop, and then, boom, we get right back above Bitcoin's average price. So that's the risk, that we undercut this low right here, but then we bottom out, and we get back up and go and resume the advance. But you got a good shot that this could be the bottom, as I've said. So I talked about my last update. Bitcoin is right here at the 2023 trend line. If we bounce here and get a higher low, then again, it could be off to the races trying to get back above the 200. If we break this level, you're going to get a death cross. Well, the death cross here, it ended up marking a bottom. When we got the death cross here ended up marking a bottom. Do we see something like that again? Even if we get the death cross, it might be prevented. If we get a massive, massive rally, it might be prevented from happening. We'll see. But again, I've talked about my last update. If parameter, is it going to firm up right here like it did over here at this bottom and over here at this bottom? Or is it going to be that it goes negative like over here and we end up getting the death cross and the bottom falls out of Bitcoin? That's what I was talking about in my last update. My guess is we're going to bottom out. Showing you this because I want to show you if we do break this area, that's going to be extremely bearish. You're going to be breaking the trend line of support from the 2023 low. You're going to be taking out Bitcoin's average price. You're going to be taking out the 50-week moving average. You're going to be taking out horizontal support at this just under 74,000 right there. So again, you lose this area, that's going to be extremely bearish. I think we're in a bottoming process. You could still get the triple divergence if you get one more push down, but I think you got a good shot of a higher low scenario. But if we firm up here, that's going to be bullish. Even if we go lower and this goes briefly negative like it did here, like it did over here, you can still firm up and it can carve out a bottom. The parameter goes negative and stays there. Bitcoin drops below its average price and Bitcoin drops below the 50-week moving average, then it's over. That's it. And no hope unless we get back above Bitcoin's average price in the 50-week moving average. And you'll have this, where parameter stays negative and you see the bottom drop out of Bitcoin. And the death cross here led to a 78% decline. So again, we're going to be watching to see what happens here. Still think you're going to get one more rally to a new all-time high. And I think you're going to come up to this channel line up here. And I don't have it straight here on this chart. These trend lines move on me sometimes, as I've said, where I think Bitcoin is going. Trying to bounce up major support. We're coming back to the trend line again. This is the 50-week SMA and EMA right here that we're trying to bounce off of. You got a bull flag going into that trend line. So again, I think you got a good shot of a bounce here. Now, maybe we undercut the 50-week and we come down to this trend line right here, and you get a divergence on the daily chart, and then another reference point, and then you bottom out, and we redraw the trend line if we break it and get back above it. Certainly possible. Maybe we get a bottoming tail and we get below it intra-week, but then we get right back above it. We'll be watching. But again, still got a shot that Bitcoin has a bottom here with that bottoming tail we got a few weeks ago. Hey, just real fast, I've been having some issues with my audio. I'm working on it. Hopefully there won't be any issues in this short video I'm making. Just wanted to quickly update you on a few things. It will eventually get resolved here. I wanted to apologize. I did have some popping sounds on the last video, and I do apologize for that. So I just want to make you aware of that. I am aware of that. And I'm trying to resolve that by trial and error, but sometimes these things take a little while. Just wanted to let you know that. This is Bitcoin futures. We just had Bitcoin open for the Monday session for the Bitcoin trading action. We just started the Monday session with Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin futures opened up, and it's starting the Monday session, and we're gapping lower. We're going back to a bearish reversal of conditions here. We're seeing the same thing happen with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. And again, told you the risk is that we come back and we get a divergence, but we may end up getting a higher low here at our support zone. I'll show you the Bitcoin chart in just a moment, but I'll be watching again. Do we form a bottom? Now, the conventional wisdom all over the internet is we're going to get these tariffs where, Trump's calling it Liberation Day. Could Liberation Day mark a bottom with Bitcoin and the stock market? I think it's very, very possible, because I'll tell you what, if Bitcoin loses 74,000 and drops below Bitcoin's average price in the 50-week moving average and can't get back above it, that's going to be extremely bearish. Now, if we drop below those levels, take out this low and form a divergence, a triple divergence right here, and then maybe briefly drop below the 74,000 area or something, and then get back above Bitcoin's average price, then again, you might form a divergence. But it could be we get a higher low that ends up setting up. But could we, and again, I'm being mocked and laughed at for daring to possibly say Bitcoin's going to go make new highs, that Bitcoin bottom with the tariffs. Why? Because nobody's thinking this through. And so, the media's spreading this narrative. Oh, we're going to get these tariffs. We're going to get retaliations, and then it's over. That's it. Nothing's going to happen. I mean, that's very naive to think that way. So Europe's just going to do retaliatory tariffs. Trump will slap on more tariffs, and they'll do more retaliatory, and it's just going to go on until we get, to tariffs 5,000%. And Europe's just going to walk willfully right into a recession without trying to negotiate. I mean, that's pretty naive to think that way. And the media is telling us, oh, no, it's not going to work there. What do we see each time? Trump slaps on tariffs, a country retaliates, and then they cave, and the doors open to negotiations. Now we're waiting for this election in Canada. Canada, Mexico, and Europe are all saying they're going to do these retaliatory tariffs, but we've already seen a concessions list, a list of concessions from the European Union. We get April 2nd and Trump's Liberation Day, Europe's going to make concessions. How do we know that? Again, I think it's going to be, with this, I think it's going to be sell the rumor. That's what we've had. Sell the rumor of all these tariffs and buy the news. Buy the news, and I think we'll see a surge up. Because I'm telling you, if we go lower, as people are saying with Bitcoin, we'll recover. No, if we go lower, it's over. If you lose Bitcoin's average price at the 74,000 area, it cannot get back above it. It is over. Okay? Either we're going to bottom or it is over. Okay? I want to make that clear. Maybe we dip below Bitcoin's average price and form this triple divergence. Possible you had this divergence over here again. But right now we've had this bullish reversal of conditions and it failed. We dropped back below the 200 period moving average of Bitcoin's price. We bounced off it here with Bitcoin futures. And again, we're coming back down. Do we get a higher low? I think you could get a higher low. I think you got a good shot that this low is going to hold. But if it doesn't, you could form a divergence on the MACD, on the Awesome Oscillator, and many other indicators. The RSI, you can form a triple divergence. We've already had divergences on some indicators like the Awesome Oscillator, formed it right here. And this Class B divergence, we have two equal lows and price went lower with Bitcoin. Just to let you know, we're turning to a reversal of conditions. If we get another dump and we get a lot of volatility, a big drop down here below this low right here, again, good chance we may try to bottom with a triple bullish divergence. So again, it might be that we get this drop and turn back up. But again, there's still a very good chance we don't, that we get a higher low scenario. I believe Bitcoin's in a bottoming process. I'm just letting you know, we lose the 74,000 area. It's forget it. That's it. If you want to see what I'm talking about, Bitcoin's average price and the 74,000 area, I'm going to link my last video at the end of this video. I explain what I'm talking about. The confluence of support just underneath our recent lows here. And it had better hold, because if it doesn't, that's going to be extremely bearish. Herd is telling us that, there is no hope. And they were the ones telling us that there's no way Bitcoin's going down back at the December and January high. I was able to call the day of both of those tops with my indicators. Since then, my indicators have been consistently bearish, tried to turn back to bullish here. And again, we've gone lower than I thought we would go. But my signals have been consistently bearish the entire time. If you watch the video all the way through, you'll see that. I'll try not to be too long. Just wanted to bring this to your attention. This is what I'm looking at, a possible confirmation of a higher low here, or with our red Awesome Oscillator bar starting off for the Monday session, I think you're going to see a confirmation of a higher low or a divergence, one or the other. Regardless of which way it plays out, I think you're going to see Bitcoin complete the bottoming process, either with a higher low or a lower low. Now, I want to continue to point this out to you. We are very, very oversold. Look at the stochastic. Okay, the MACD is coming right back down to the center line with Bitcoin, and the Awesome Oscillator, I think, is what's going to happen is we're going to see some kind of bottom develop with Bitcoin that's going to end up giving us, in my opinion, a larger divergence that's going to take us into maybe May, possibly on into the summer. And then when we get the rally, everybody that's telling us now, and again, let me just say this, the herd told us there's no possible way we're going down. Now they're telling us there's no possible way that we're going up. They've lost hope. The bears are telling us, oh no, we're going to crash and we're all going to die. And maybe they're right if we take out 74,000, but if we don't, it's more likely we have a bottom. And I continue to point out, and here we're trying to bounce off the 50-week moving average, so is the Bitcoin price. We're doing it here at futures and the 200-day in the daily time frame, key support areas. But I think that you're going to end up forming this divergence. We had this smaller divergence right here. I think it's going to end up forming a large triple divergence in the weekly time frame. I think the MACD will firm back up and get a lower high. And I think we could see that happen going into maybe on into May, sell in May, go away, or on into the summer. I think you could see this happen. This sell-off is a preview of coming attractions. And again, when we go to new highs, which I think we will, up to my channel, and I don't know when we'll reach it. It could be quickly. It could be very, very short. But I'm telling you, a rally of hope, which I'm telling you is going to happen. Negotiations. Does Trump end up pausing the tariffs? Do we see, our trading partners come to the negotiating table? Do we get good tariff news? I've been predicting we're going to, and again, I think it is a sell the rumor, buy the news event. 2018, we had the tariffs, steel and aluminum, and then we had the threat of other tariffs on other countries. Trump was talking about it. He didn't end up doing it, but he was talking about it, and we saw markets rattled. In 2018, we bottomed out on April 2nd. What's this? This next week, April 2nd, Liberation Day. Trump's calling it. Actually, we had volatility with the tariffs as they came on there in March of 2018 and all of that. But then we rallied up and we went to new highs. The S&P 500. During that time, Bitcoin was in a bear market in 2018, but we didn't have a recession. I think Bitcoin goes and makes a new high, and then I think it begins to price in the recession. And you think that this 30% drop, which we've had a 33% drop back over here, you think this is rattling everybody, scaring them half to death? I ain't seen nothing yet. Because if we go up and make new highs and do what I think we're going to do and begin to price in the recession, you're going to get a quick 50% drop like we did in 2021. And a wrecking ball is going to be taken to Bitcoin. Now, again, I think you're going to get this larger divergence going into, May, maybe on into the summer. But then I think Bitcoin is going to top out. It's going to go towards 135 to 145,000 area, maybe higher if we take the time reaching my target. The trend line could drag out into the summer. Or get there very, very quickly. We could have a catapult rally and get there really, really fast, which it would be a little bit lower than 135,000 if we hit my objective target immediately. It's a trend line, not a date.